Thank you. Excited to kick off this track. Unfortunately, Michael, my co-founder, couldn't be here. I'm his co-founder, Danny. So instead of a kind of full keynote, I'm just going to open this track with a few of the reasons that at 3Box Labs and Ceramic, we're super excited about reputation and where the ecosystem is at right now with it. There's been an explosion in the last 6 months, 12 months of badges and attestations and credentials and points. And we see this as a really exciting use case, but we also see this as social infrastructure. Pure financial transactions work really well without reputation. Buying and selling and trading assets, these are all one-time games. These can be done pretty anonymously. You don't need a whole lot of context, and smart contracts have enabled this in a pretty frictionless way. But reputation is how social systems achieve repeat game use cases, things that go beyond one-time transactions. And this can be part of the financial system, so lending with credit, but also anything that's collaborative or social in nature really needs some form of reputation. Reputation is how social systems incentivize good behavior for things that don't have explicit financial value on both sides. And so the reputation data being established by a lot of the speakers and panelists that we're going to hear from in this track is really laying the infrastructure for use cases that are the things that get us really excited about the future of Web3, the things that move us beyond pure DeFi and financial use cases to a much more vibrant web generally. And because this is all being built on decentralized infrastructure, we're building this infrastructure together. One company might do the legwork to get an initial set of credentials and attestations saved, but many others can leverage it. And so we have this composability and collaboration to build this base, this reputational base for these more social use cases together. So that's really exciting to us. The second reason is we really see reputation as one step in a natural trend towards a web full of verifiable data, a web powered by provable data. So just to kind of walk through this journey really briefly, the first step that we saw was identity badges, things like KYC proofs, proof of humanity, anti-Sybil. These are all super discrete identity proofs for very specific, fairly high-stake reasons. Things like access to financial services on an exchange, airdrop participation, governance with one person, one vote. These are all relatively high-friction steps to get these identity proofs, but it's worth it for users and networks to go through this because they open up access to relatively high-value credentials and services. So that was step one, and we saw a lot of that kind of a few years ago in kind of the upswing of airdrops and tokens and open networks. More recently, this has expanded to POAPs and credentials and attestations for a much wider set of activities than these single discrete identity proofs. Things like attendance at conferences and quests and linked accounts and endorsements and reviews. These are all being represented in different forms of attestations and credentials now. In the last few months, we've seen an explosion of points and loyalty programs that look at all of this data, not just the on-chain transactions, but the much broader set of activity, and start to reward that. And so now they're able to reward and incentivize and encourage not just the immediate, short-term valuable on-chain transactions, but the other behaviors that drive long-term value for the networks and projects. And we're starting to see more services compile all this data and use it to make it much easier to target users and re-engage them and deliver much better services. And so we talk about reputation today, that's kind of the world that we live in, but we think that last piece really points to the future that we're pretty rapidly moving towards, which is capturing all the activity happening on applications and within networks, not just the on-chain transactions or very discrete identity proofs, but a flood of cryptographically signed events for everything that's happening. To be used for richer applications and for engagement and for analytics, all the things that we're used to building with and seeing in more traditional Web 2 applications, but haven't really had access to yet in Web 3. And we'll see this used within organizations to make the products and services within Web 3 much richer and better, but also across applications in a way that wasn't possible before. So we think this is where we're going. That's what gets us really excited at Ceramic. That's the future that we're building for. For those who don't know, Ceramic is a decentralized data network that combines the scale of an event streaming system with the trust and composability we're all used to in Web3 from blockchains. We're really building this so that we can have the volume of data and the usage of data that we're used to in the traditional web, but with the trust that we're used to in Web3. A lot of ways to use Ceramic. If you haven't explored already, you can use the data feed API, which is in kind of an early access form right now to get very low-level access to Ceramic event feeds. You can use ComposeDB, which is a decentralized graph database. It's highly customizable. Most of the projects been built in the last year on Ceramic are using that. You can also use OrbisDB, which just launched earlier this week with the best DX of any database that we've seen, and lots of plugins for very common features. And so check out Orbis. Index Network, I'm not going to steal their thunder because I think they're going to share some exciting news up here in just a few minutes. And many more apps and services that are all interoperating on the same data network. And so able to share that data and make more use of it because it's all built on this decentralized architecture. We also have, I actually think if you go outside, do we have the QR codes out there or no? All right, ignore the QR code then. I will close. If you have any questions about Ceramic, anything we just talked about, come find me or anybody else in a green hat. But we'll get us to the speakers and panelists to dive into reputation. Thank you.